Today we're doing some Ark Nova Marine Worlds action cards tier list. And today I'm joined by a special guest, WSBG Ark Nova champion BDWSSBB, aka Andrew.
Hello,
What's
I'm
that?
champion.
That was so loud it cut out. How much Marine Worlds have you played? Because I've been honest, I haven't played a whole lot.
I've actually got quite a lot of Marine Worlds expansion under my belt with how I've been playing with my physical copy with my friends, so I'm familiar with a lot of the action cards, and I've gotten to the point where I got sick of them because some are just stupid, while others are just you're sad to have them.
Obviously, in the Marine Worlds expansion, at the start of the game, you get to draft these action cards. You get to draft 3 of them.
So you start with 3 of these action cards. You pick one, give the others, and then you will have 3. You can't pick the same action twice. If you, for some reason, have 3 of the same action, you just get one random one that isn't that,
Mm-hmm.
and then you pick 2 of them. The others are just your standard actions.
Okay. So in a Marine Worlds game, you can have 2 of these like upgraded actions and 3 regular ones. And talk to me about when you get to do this. So you know your map, your starting hand, the conservation projects.
You know your map. You do not know your starting hand.
Ooh.
You do not know your action order.
Okay. You don't know your action order either. Wow. So should we get started with the animal ones?
Yes, there's like one great one, and then there's one terrible one, and then the others are passable. Or 2 good ones. So we'll start with no wreck animals, the cheat animals. I actually rate it pretty well because you probably know the best case scenario of a fur seal round 1, and just to recall, this animals version, or like as I call augment, if you could play 2 animals, you can just play one and ignore one of the requirements. So as you can see, if you have a round 1 fur seal, you can just do it as long as you get the money. You just build a 5x on the 5 money and be done with that. This is great earlier in the game when you probably were only going to play 1 animal only, petting zoo aside, but petting zoos don't have requirements anyway. The value in these animals that have requirements is, well, it has a requirement, so it just discounted or gave bonus tickets or something. So now you can just play a sun bear now, Steel Species 5, without the Asian partnership. It's so dumb.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Like, yeah, obviously fur seal is best case, but even still, like a macaque, like if you just have a size 3, people have to be concerned because you could play a pilfering animal.
This also establishes threats on what animals you could play, even though you are limited to 1 animal, because you can still play it.
So sounds like it should be rated pretty highly here.
I would put it just missed S tier though, but I would put it at the top of A because we will see there are some stupid things that belong in S tier. This animals augment does fall off later in the game when you're trying to play 2 animals and you probably don't have time to play only 1 when you could have played 2. But early game is where it shines.
The next one we have is hunting animals. So basically, at the end of your turn, if you have no animals left in your hand, you get to hunt 4. This has some upside and downside. The downside being, if you're playing in real life, I think it's sort of agreed on that you have to show everyone your hand so that they know you don't have animals and then you can hunt. So it makes your hand open knowledge. But if this was ever implemented onto Board Game Arena, I'm not sure how they would handle it if you'd just be like allowed to hunt. It would just know that you have no animals. That's sort of interesting.
I'd be surprised if the BGA implementation enforces that your hand is revealed because it's trying to emulate as much as real life. They don't do this with the search Hollywood or Waza Special because it will just spam a bunch of text.
Yeah.
But I think this is what should happen on BGA. And showing your hand is kind of bad because it reveals your plans, like what potential sponsors or projects you have in your hand. You can't even do it if you have, say, an eagle you're trying to save up for the late game. So this really severely limits what you can do. I think it's like D.
No, I agree because like say you do start off with an eagle in your hand, like what are you gonna do? You're not gonna be able to use hunt at all for the whole game. It's pretty terrible actually.
The unfortunate side effect of hunt is that's also public, so your opponents will also know what's coming up.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think we both in agreement that it's like the bottom of D tier?
It's maybe
The
not
worst?
the worst one, but it's still
Really?
down there. I think there are a few worse ones.
Okay, we have animal discount. The first animal you play has a discount of 2 money.
Yeah, so beware, this upgraded version changes into something else. It kind of inverts its purpose, but let's start with the unupgraded version. The unupgraded version just saves money on the first animal. That's at least consistent.
Hmm.
You might need those $2 for something else. So that's nice. Now the upgraded version, well, first off, the upgraded version says you may pay 2 money to get one more ticket per animal you play. Now, of course, that means that you should be only squeezing 2 more tickets out by doing so, and you're paying for money for this. And you kind of wish that you could get the tickets for free, but you're not. This is why I
Hmm.
think it's not that great. Yes, if you have excess money, it's kind of like trading in your money for points quickly when you really need to. But I think there are better ways to get more points. So I don't rate the upgraded version that highly. That being said, I don't think it's one of the worst action cards. I'm happy putting it at B tier.
Yeah, I think it is sort of just middle of the road. Like, you'll always be able to use the discount. I think in late game, 2 money for 1 appeal it is a good exchange, but you're
It's also
not.
not fast enough.
Yeah, it's like it's not very meaningful, and you're not always going to have the extra money. So, but it's still just generally useful.
It could be worse.
Yeah. Okay, B tier. The last animal's action is Mark.
Yes, this is pure annoyance to your opponents because if they want the card, you get $2 off of them. Well, not you get it from the bank, but
Hmm.
that's kind of like the first action, the previous action we talked about, the one that you just get a discount. It's almost like that. It's just the money is a bit delayed. But if they don't take it and it gets discarded, which happens faster because of the nature of waves, then you get the card. And getting one more card every time you do animals is pretty nice. Probably sunbathe it, or it's the card you actually want. Now, just note that it can only work on animal cards in the row, so no
Right.
stealing sponsors or conservation projects like this. Now, the upgrade version is really annoying, to say the least. If you play an animal that you've marked from the row, you get another reputation. And that means that your opponents have to decide if they just want to let you have $2 or 1 rep, or you get the card. It's a win-win-win situation for you.
Sounds pretty good, actually. Getting like 2 rep from your animal's action, not bad.
Oh yeah. So I would actually put it at A tier as well because it's kind of like delayed draw, which is nice with the nature of race, how you have to discard down to 3 cards. Because first you discard down to 3 or 5,
Hmm.
and then the cards in the row get discarded, which means you might have a hand size of 4. It's not actually 4, but it feels like 4.
And then if you have snapping or something at the start of the next round, you start with 5 cards. It's all right.
Oh yeah.
We're on to the associations now.
So this association action allows you to repeat the same partnership, and when you upgrade it, it also allows you to repeat the same universities. Another thing it does is you must be taking partnerships from the supply as you're doing this action, which is both a good and a bad thing. In a
Hmm.
higher player count, when you're just trying to avoid the crossfire, it's probably for the best that you're not getting blocked. I like to call it the no block association. And this
Fair.
is, I think, the one action card that really cares about what projects are out, because if you see that there's a content project that is not habitat diversity, or maybe still habitat diversity, then you can just stack 2 continents together like Asia 5. You already got 2 from taking 2 partnerships, and then you can play an elephant for 21. Seems fair.
Talk to me about the like mechanics of the game. So there are in the supply there are 4 partnerships. You could deny Asia completely from someone, right? If you
Well,
take 4 Asia.
actually, so there it is actually impossible for you to have for the same partnership because you must take from the supply. So let's pretend that
Oh.
let's pretend that you took 3 of the Asian partnerships with this action card. The fourth Asia is going to land into the association board, which means you can't take it. Only your opponents can. And flipping to its upgraded side where you can repeat universities, it's less good than it sounds,
Yeah.
because you probably did the 1-2 combo with 5 hand and the 2 rep uni, and then your third uni is going to be the animal university. Rarely do you need to repeat one of those.
I was more
And no,
thinking along the lines of you have science museum, I'm gonna get all the science.
it's niche. If it happens, it's funny.
So I think more realistically talking with the partner zoo thing, it's gonna lead to a lot more break chicken because say there's only one habitat project on the board like America's. If you and your opponent both start with America's, neither of you will want to break first, like in the very first round. It's going to create a lot of awkward situations, I feel.
It's not as bad as some other break chicken situations where you really don't want to lose species 5. Yeah, it's annoying that you didn't get the first one, but as compensation, you can just get 2 more and support at 4. It's not the worst thing in the world. I don't think it's worth playing break chicken for that.
Okay, so after all that, it has some usefulness, but I still don't rate it that highly compared to other action cards that like giving you a noticeable benefit. I would say like around C tier. What do you think?
Uh, it's a safety net for those
Hmm.
higher player counts when you really don't want your plans ruined. But at the same time, you want to be, you can always adapt. So yeah, I guess C tier, probably on the higher side of C tier. It's kind of hard for me to judge between low B or high C. I think its upgrade is kind of obsolete.
Yeah, that works for you because you like upgrading sponsors anyway.
Oh yeah.
If you do association at 5, instead of supporting a project, you can just choose to recruit another worker.
I have many problems with this. It's slow, for
Yes.
one, because the worker that you get from doing this is also on the association board. So you can't even use that worker, and then you're hoping that your opponent doesn't break your second worker round 2. Another bad side effect of this action card is if you had a project that you want to do, but you want another worker, you can't do it because they both use the same slot at 5. Now, it is meant to be slow because you're supposed to upgrade this action and use workers as kind of 2x tokens. To explain, you may send additional workers to an action slot on the association board and you will reduce its action power cost by 2. So let's say you want to support a conservation project which would use 5 action power, but it's only at 1. You can
Hmm.
send 3 workers there to just do it. Is it
Hmm.
fast now? Yes, but now that you have 2 or 3 workers on that, you can't do it anymore. So you probably want to break ASAP. The idea is get your workers, do your association actions really fast and really cheap, break, repeat.
So it sounds like it's much, much better when it's upgraded. It has very fringe use cases in the early game when it's not
It's too
upgraded.
slow.
Yeah.
So I'd put it at D tier.
I think I'm putting it worse than Hunter Animals right now, for sure. Alright, I quite like this one. So if you want to grab a partner zoo or uni, but you do your association action at a higher power, you get an X token.
It's actually pretty useful.
Hmm.
The problem is, you better hope you're not picky because you are more likely to get blocked, especially at higher player counts. So, if you have a very specific plan, you risk getting blocked. Let's say you have an Asian animal and you want to support Asia at 2, but your opponent might want to do the same thing. So, you better have a backup plan in case your plan does get taken because you're trying to get your association action at a higher level. Maybe you already started at 4 and they started at 2, which means you can both get the Asian partnership and the X token, but most cases you probably don't. Because remember, you don't know your action order. Now the upgrade is pretty nice if you plan to upgrade association. It's not required to make the most use out of it. You can go either way, but the upgrade lets you save money on donations based on how many X tokens you have. So if you already have 2 X tokens by the time you're donating for the first time, it's free. And then it's kind of like that stupid card publication.
Publications.
You can
Hmm.
just wreck the donation track for everyone else. It's actually hard to say. It's like top B, maybe low A. I kind of want to give one association action some shine, so I can say low A.
Personally, I think it's better than Mark for sure.
That's true, because you're probably getting at least one X token, probably two if you are doing a 1-2 uni or partnership combo.
So I have two questions then with this association. It would work with Vet, right? If you do a project at 5 power when it only costs 4, you'd get an X token.
Yeah, it works with that.
Does the upgraded version stack with publications? Like you could have free 12 donation if you had 5 X tokens and 7 signs.
Yes. Do I want to imagine it? No, not really.
No S's yet. Is that normal?
Oh, that's intentional, because we
Okay.
saved some silly things for later. I would say determination is a misnomer. I call it self-clever, because it kicks itself down when it's not being useful. It says that at power 5, you can just do nothing, and then take another action. If you're not doing association at 5 to support a project, you're probably losing. Probably.
Yeah.
Because association is a great way to get many points without spending money, donations aside. Its best case situation is just not getting clogged round 1, because if you kick it down to 1 for free and then do something else to keep yourself busy, at least association is at 2 by the time your opponent might quote unquote punish you for doing that, but at least you kept yourself busy round 1 as long as you can. Maybe it gets clogged in round 2 because maybe you only have 1 worker still, but yes, it's going to fall off like a brick late game when you actually need to use it for its intended purpose.
So I think we both like the idea of like the self-clever. The problem is that the action card that it's on is association. Like, could you imagine this on cards? It would be clear S tier.
The upgraded version says, if you do not donate, draw a card from reputation range or the deck. I kind of wish it were the other way around, which is if you do donate, draw a card. Like, if you're the first one to upgrade association and want to snag that too, it's blank text for now.
Yeah.
Once you hit the 7 donation mark, then you can maybe use its ability, or if you upgrade association late, then you can use it for that purpose instead, but you probably just want the points.
It's like not helpful. It's punishing you for getting in early donations when it should be rewarding you. So yeah, I don't like that either.
So I kind of rate it. No, it's not the worst thing in the world. I put it below the repeat association, no block association, so kind of bottom C tier. I will say this gets more hate than it should, but it's still kind of bad.
Really? You think it's better than hunter animals? Like, oh.
You can unclog yourself round 1 for a bit if you've got like 2 or 3 sponsors you need to dish out while your opponent's awkwardly using a whole turn to clever down association.
Okay, that's fair. On to the builds now. These ones are a lot more interesting, I feel. So basically, normal build, except at the end of the action, you can spend 3 money to build an extra pavilion.
Incorrect. You can start with the pavilion and then build like normal.
Okay, you can do it. Does it matter which order you do it?
Nope. You can first build the pavilion and then what you were normally going to do.
Okay.
Or you can build the thing and then the pavilion. Now, unupgraded, it will cost a little more than normal. It will cost 3. The nature of pavilions are they're great for filler. And in the early game, you're probably rushing certain spots. For example, Research Institute, you want that university as soon as you can. So, for example, you can do a 3-hex end pavilion. You're much closer to the university than you could ever do. Outdoor area, you can do a petting zoo and pavilion, 1 move, and get the partnership.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
So it's got some nice cases, and then upgraded, it just makes it cheaper. You just pay the standard 2 for the extra pavilion. Now, this is saying that you can build 2 pavilions in 1 turn. Is it cool for filling up spaces and making your kiosk happy? Yes. Do I think it's overrated? Also yes, because I think there's a better way to spend your extra action power that you are getting. Oh, shut up! Like I said, it's overrated. You will see soon enough that there is a build I think is even more stupid. But as for itself, I'll make you guys happy. A-.
So I agree it's not S. S must be reserved for some crazy stuff, yeah.
Oh,
I'm happy with that.
They're coming sooner or later.
I could see it being worse than just 2 money discount. Early game is expensive.
We'll compare it to the next one, the kiosk version.
Oh, which I think is just strictly worse, by the way.
Yeah, it can do the same thing with the pavilion build where you can bridge to your placement bonuses faster, but you don't need as many kiosks as pavilions. You can have 12 pavilions in your zoo and be fine. You can't have 12 kiosks and be fine. Ice cream can't handle 12 kiosks. No map can. You still have to pay extra for the kiosk,
Yeah.
just like the pavilion build. And the upgraded version, why would you build 2 kiosks?
But with Engineer, you can build 3 kiosks in a turn.
Oh, I'm sure my expert in America is very happy about that. But I'm not. They tried to emulate same concept with pavilion build and it ended up being a failure. I would put it C.
I agree it's strictly worse than Pavilion, but I think compared to everything else, it's not that bad. Like I'd even be fine putting it like bottom of B, but it's close.
Top of C is fine.
Build 1 building with a maximum size of X+1.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible unupgraded because it's just constantly adding an X token to your build, which you could do more. But the upgraded version, it's still +1s, and you can build the same standard enclosure twice. I like to joke that you can build 6 1-hexes for your 6 slow worms. I'm sure they're very happy. Why didn't you build a reptile house? Because they're running around in the zoo. We can't fit a reptile house.
So it's not limited to 2. You can build 6 1-hexes.
Yes.
And it's only standard enclosures?
Yes, you can only repeat standard enclosures. You cannot repeat kiosk pavilions and special enclosures.
That's fair.
Now, this is very good for resolving a very annoying case of I have 2 1-hex animals, but I'm not allowed to build 2 1-hexes, so I have to put a 1-hex animal in a 2-hex. This applies to 2-hex animals as well, where you can't build 2 2-hexes, so one of them ends up living in a 3-hex.
The most annoying, this actually happens kind of frequently, like when you need 2 3-hexes. I think that would be a very good use case for it.
Yeah, it covers surprisingly plenty of bases that the other builds can't. So that's why I say people hate on it when it's actually not that bad.
No, I think upgraded is actually really good.
A nice side effect about how this build action works is if you're like Sam, who has a lot of 1-hex holes in his zoo, you can just patch them up.
So what you're saying is...
Well, it's S tier for you. Cool. I would put it high B or low A.
I think
It's a tough
high
call.
B.
I'd say high B.
The question really becomes, do you get more use out of it than a guaranteed 2 discount for every first animal that you play?
That's a tough question. It's really going to depend on the cards that you don't even know.
Yeah, it's so... Okay, in a vacuum, without knowing anything, which would you draft first?
Ooh, tough call. So let's try to think, for example, of an animal that costs 26 or 27, like the American alligator. Wow, I can do my American alligator release round 1.
But
Awesome.
you still get a discount on anything that you play. Like, money is always useful. Yes, so this is your cheat build, as you like to say. Unupgraded, you can spend 2 money to cover 1 water or rock space.
Oh no. It's like you have most of diversity researcher already. Now, yes, you do have to pay extra, but there's... do I really have to talk about the upgraded version?
I mean, just unupgraded, you can already see like how you can abuse it on a lot of maps. Like,
So, there's some debate and text reading that needs to be done about border spaces because some people are going to think, oh, 2-hex opener on outdoor area or research institute. But some
yeah.
people are also saying that you can't start on those border spaces that have water and rock because you were never allowed to build there on the first place. I would have to check with the developers to see if that's legal or not. We're going to assume that it's not that dumb for now, but even then, you can do shenanigans. There are some limitations, which is you can only do 1 water or rock space at a time, and you have to pay. But the issue of paying becomes inverted when you upgrade it. When you upgrade, you gain money for cheating.
That's such a weird, okay, thematically, why are we getting money for removing water and rock?
We found treasure.
So I have a feeling this is one of the S's.
I reserved this for the S tier. Yes, it's dumb. You put enclosures in places you weren't supposed to. You can start doing funny things with outdoor area, have more big hexes where you shouldn't have. You
Oh,
can get more value out of the observation tower.
yeah.
You can get your 6 money income from the restaurant. Not that it's as stupid as the other ones.
Just the amount of good openings it gives you on a lot of different maps is kind of crazy. All right, on to the cards actions. You get to draw without discarding. So you can do it at power 5, you can draw 3 and not have to discard.
This is what I like to call the high roller's favorite, and also something that sounds good on paper, but not as good in practice most of the time. Now, Commercial Harbor is kind of smiling with 3 extra bucks at power 5 and even power 3. And yes, it does work on the upgraded side where you can just draw 4 cards and don't discard. The problem is, by the nature of drawing, you are probably getting 1 card that you don't want. This is why I call it the high roller's favorite, because if you just so happen to get 3 cards that you want,
Yeah,
great,
amazing.
no discarding. But those don't help with the situations that you are struggling and need to catch up. They just probably make you win more.
I think it still does sound really good. The thing with, like you said, the thing with discarding is it's going to get rid of always the worst card in your hand, whereas this lets you keep the worst card in your hand. That's a different way of thinking about it. But yeah, if you have any Sunbather, then I think it has really good value.
Yes, but unfortunately it's going to be dependent on what you have, and we don't know what you have just yet. Now, I think giving it a B rating is fine. It could be worse than the other ones. I still like the build more than the cards, because this kind of depends on what else you have. Yes, I know the build augment also depends on what you have, but I find the build a little more consistent.
Digging. Okay, so this is before you do your cards action, you get to dig away something, and you're probably going to dig away from the display.
It's the ultimate hate drafting card.
In
a 2-player game, your opponent doesn't get to play the game.
Actually, how ridiculous. How many times do you have to snap something away from your opponent that's terrible for you, but you just can't let them have it? Like, I don't know, a medical breakthrough when they start with 4 science.
Oh yeah, if I see a science museum, they have 4 science. I don't like spending the snap on it, but I kind of have to.
Wow.
But I shoot myself in the foot so hard. Now that I can just dig it away, I can mind my own business and deny.
And also, if you reveal an eagle or something, hey, look, I have a cards action that I'm doing at 5.
Awesome. It's my eagle, my sun bear, my side entrance.
Oh my god. Okay, that's... Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to think, but that's ridiculous.
And once you upgrade it, you get to hate draft even more. You get to dig twice.
And if you're at max rep, if you're at 15 rep, it's basically like seeing an extra 2 cards and then deciding, okay, I want to draw these.
Yeah, even if you're not at a high rep range, let's say you're at 9 rep instead of 15, you can lower some cards into your reputation range so that you can draw them.
Oh my god. Okay. Do we actually need another tier?
No, it's deserving of S, but which one is more stupid, digging cards or cheat build?
I don't think it's even a question.
It has to be digging cards because you just shut down the other player.
Yes. Oh my goodness. All right. Card snapping. So you can snap at an earlier power. And what's the upgraded?
When you upgrade it, you can snap at 2. I don't know why you're doing your cards action at 2 out of desperation like that, but the real power is at cards 5 you snap twice. Now, unlike the Salt Croc and the Nile Croc, you don't replenish the row, so you're seeing 1 less card, but at least you get to take any 2 cards. The problem is it falls off later in the game when your reputation is emulating these snaps.
Like, absolute best case scenario is going to be first move or two of the game when there's that archaeologist on Silver Lake or the side entrance that's in snapping range. You're nearly always going to beat your opponent to it.
Oh yeah,
Otherwise, yeah, you don't want to be using cards that often. Like, cards at 3 always feels terrible. If you're just going to be drawing cards normally anyway, it's just blank text. So I don't think
yeah,
quite D tier, but maybe bottom of
yeah,
C.
yeah. It deserves C tier.
This is so at the end of your card's action, you can pay 2 money to clever anything.
It's actually pretty useful when you just really need to kick something down. You've got situations, unfortunately, you have to pay, but when you upgrade this card's augment, you don't have to pay anymore. You just clever for free. And there are 2 actions you don't want to do if you can help it: cards and bill, because they
Yep.
don't get you points. Now, you can use at least one of the actions you don't want to do to kick down the other. And the nature of this is because just kick down an action after doing cards is going to be higher than whatever you didn't like. So if you still don't like that action, it's going to be at 5. You kick it down again. You just got maximum use out of your clever.
Even early game, think really, really useful.
When you're hurting for money in the early game, it can be a tough choice.
Okay, so maybe better use late game. It's free anyway, but late game you always do want to be clevering, so
I would say B is fine enough. I would rate it. Oh, it's pretty tough because remember, the unupgraded version doesn't feel best paying money for the clever when you probably just want to do everything anyway. It'll shine later when it's free and there's probably one action you don't want to do.
just looking at how many good action cards there are. Like, I was going to put it at the top of B, but these 2 are like really good as well. All right, I think we're getting on to the silly ones now.
Yeah. The next one you're taking out is not one of those.
You get to trade an X token for 5 money or trade 5 money for an X token.
You probably want to do the X token to 5 money because the 5 money to X token feels really bad. That is expensive for 1 more action power.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
So, like, best case, you're going to be causing the break with this and then instantly trading that X token for 5 money. I can see that being very useful in the early game, and then in the late game, maybe you have a ton of money, the X token's going to be useful. I think compared to every other card here, though, it's just very underwhelming.
Yeah. Now, the upgrade version makes it kind of like upgrading animals, where you can trade an X token or 5 money for 1 reputation. But here's the problem. Animals at 5 gets you the reputation for free.
Yeah.
This, you still have to pay. I don't like paying things. I like to have things for free.
Funny, me too. Or is it the worst of the worst?
No, I'd at least rate it higher than the association, because that association is just too slow.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only time I'm using this is round 1, break 5, 5 extra money. Even then, I still like having the X token anyway, so it yeah.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Let me just read this out. If you gain money during this action, gain 3 more. What the hell were they thinking?
This is 1, the king of stalling. 2, it just generates money out of nowhere. Now, yes, you need to somehow gain money. Yeah, and breaking works, of course, but something like an ornithologist, it'll get you $6 instead of 3.
And then when you play your penguin pool after that, also
3
plus
more
6.
bucks.
No, plus 6.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then science library becomes stupid. And I realized that it has a very silly case with Commercial Harbor. I had to read the text, and I'm 90% sure this is how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you do the sponsors action, you will always get the 3 more bucks as long as you sell a card with it. Because selling a card is during the sponsors action. You can do it at any time.
And the stupidest use case that you brought up was the ultimate stall machine. You can now break 1, multiple turns in a row, just break 1 and get 4 money.
Yeah. Upgraded, it gets even better. Break 1, gain 7. Awesome.
Oh my god. Yeah, it just forces your opponent to cause the break, or you're just getting too much benefit. Like round 1, you're getting 4 money a turn. They are getting nothing. Maybe they're building a kiosk or something. 4 money is just straight up better.
Yeah. I wonder what's better, making people not play the game or playing the game too well. This is a rivalry between digging cards and stupid sponsors. I'll say that much.
I think for me, the sponsors, because, yeah, like you said, Science Library just becomes insane. It's already insane, but Science Library becomes probably the best card in the game or close to it.
Don't forget Silver Lake.
Oh, yeah, the other use case is just placing down a sponsor building. It can be on any map that has 5 money, but yeah, Silver Lake with 2 money, you can get it multiple times.
And then there are some more convoluted ways to get the money, even if they're not free, they at least work. And you can get creative with this. For example, if you play Guerrilla Field Research and get 1 CP and hit the 5 CP mark, you can get the 10 money bonus, and you still gained money during the sponsor's action, so you get 3 more. Congratulations.
Oh my goodness. I mean, if I see this, I'm drafting it first ahead of anything, even the cards, I think.
And then we talk about its inferior cousin.
Okay, it's normal sponsors, but you can discard a sponsor card to gain 4 money.
Yeah, it's like very picky sunbathing.
Mm.
It sounded fine until it wasn't because of how picky it was. Not only that, well, it's not as bad as the hunter animals, but you have to prove that it's a sponsor card. So you show the card to everyone and then discard it. And then if you just discard a science museum, everyone's like, oh, there's no science museum in the game. It's not worth it anymore.
You'd be doing this when you're like, I'm going to break 5 and I'm going to get rid of this upgraded sponsor card that I can't play. And I get 4
Yes,
money for doing it.
but then the money sponsor is kind of doing the same thing, except much more reliably. Yes, it's 1 less buck.
Oh, I agree
This-
completely. It's just strictly better, the S tier one.
Now, the upgrade version at least makes it more interesting. When you upgrade it, 1, it stops being picky. You can discard any card, and you don't have to prove anything because there's nothing to prove. 2, instead of gaining 4 money, you can instead reduce the action power of a sponsor card you play by 2. What it's saying is, you kind of have 2 X tokens for this action.
That's actually not bad.
It's like you're Hollywood. Hollywood's fun. And then if you were already Hollywood, you're Hollywood.
You can play like literally 4 sponsors very easily in a Hollywood Hills turn. Okay, so not actually that bad when it's upgraded. I was about to put it bottom of D, but actually not that bad at all.
It's still going to be reliant on upgrading it to make it more useful than this garbage. So somewhere in C is fine.
The last one. This is at the end of your action or any order?
Any order.
Okay. You discard a sponsor from your hand and you take 1 from the display.
Just like the discard a sponsor for money augment, this has the same problem of being picky, but you are getting probably a better sponsor by doing so. And there are some silly things that you can do with this. You can see a side entrance. You can have a baboon rock that you didn't want anymore and say, sponsor 3. I don't like monkeys anymore. I'm going to cheat and take side entrance. And then I play the side entrance at power 3 because you can discard the sponsor, take the sponsor you want, then play that. You can even break and then take a sponsor that you like. So, for example, if you see a spokesperson that you want for the next round, but can't do it just yet, you can say, I break 5, cause the end of the round, and take the spokesperson by discarding something that you don't want.
The main inhibiting factor is that you need to have a sponsor in your hand to make it work, which, I don't know, I play plenty of games where I don't have a sponsor and I want one desperately, and then it's just blank text. But it has enough use cases where you have a sponsor that's unplayable or just bad, and then you can trade it for the best sponsor in the row. So very, very swingy, very, very high upside, but not consistent at all, I would say.
Yeah, the rogue can just have bad sponsors as well. You're
True.
like, oh, now what? It also has a very curious side grade when you upgrade the action because you don't get to do this anymore. Instead, when you break, you may mark it.
Or you get to
And
mark a sponsor.
yeah, no, not mark a sponsor. You get to mark it, which is just play a sponsor for money.
Oh, mark it. Ah, yes. Okay.
This is implying that you can cause breaks, kill workers, and still get your sponsors out, which
Hmm.
is fine. The issue is that this is marketing specifically. You can't play sponsors from the row by doing this.
I think even that has a lot of use cases. Like, there are a ton of times where I upgrade sponsors and I want to cause the break, but I also want to get out my 2 or 3 sponsors, so at least being able to pay for one of them feels fine. Yeah, but at the same time, you're getting 10 money, but then paying like 5 for your sponsor.
Yeah, so yeah, you're getting a little less money from your breaks, but it was all delegated to getting good cards out, hopefully. I don't think it's S tier because we have that consistency issue that we talked about in the early game. It can be stupid or it can just be blank text.
Hmm.
And then the upgraded version is like it's a side grade. You might want the snap or you might not. And if you're upgrading sponsors for your explorer, well, you don't get a choice. So I wouldn't say S, but still A because of its obnoxious use case, best case scenarios.
I think
That,
absolute best case puts it like, well, I guess you could argue the same for animal conditions. I think the upside on the sponsors is pretty nice though, because like there are so many game changing sponsors out there. Like you can just snipe that aquarium, side entrance, science library, whatever.
that's my landscape gardener. That's my franchise business when we're
Oh
playing
yes,
ice together.
publications. There are a lot of game changing sponsors that I think I would personally be fine having at bottom of S, but I could also see top of A. They're close enough.
Oh, you upgraded sponsors to because you see that Amazon house.
Oh
That's
no.
fine.
Oh no. Okay, we got a nice pattern going on here. Would you move anything around seeing all of these together now?
Okay, reviewing from top to bottom. Actually, bottom to top because that's more fun.
Okay.
Yeah, these deserve to be in the trash pile. We didn't make an F tier because happily no action card is that bad, but I don't think anything should be F tier in the first place, and D tier is already cutting it. C tier, all right, going from right to left because those are ideally from the worst to the best of C tier. Discarding sponsors for money, yeah, it's very bad. Snapping, yeah, you don't really want to do it. Self Oh, yeah, self clever. Repeat. Repeat association is actually going to be, in some cases, better than EOS build because maybe it's a continents project that you want to aim for 5, which means that you can get 2 of those continents from the association board instead. All right, B tier. No discard. Yeah, that's the high roller's dream, but self clever cards is pretty nice for kicking what you don't like down because there's probably one more thing you don't like. +1 build, as I said. Too many people hate it for the wrong reasons because they're spoiled by the other build actions.
Yes.
And saving money in the early game with animals is always nice.
Let's circle back to our snapping cards. I think snapping cards has enough use cases that it's better than this is so.
Yeah, if you really need to take 2 cars from the road, then it's got more use than self.
Even just snapping at 3 though unupgraded, I think has enough use early game. Like
Yeah.
it could definitely be game changing for that first off side entrance or something.
If you don't plan to upgrade cards for a long time, which can happen quite a bit because it's probably the third or fourth upgrade, if even, then yes, just having a power 3 to 5 snap when a Sunbear accidentally gets revealed can be nice.
Okay, back to build pavilion build.
Every spammer's favorite. Still think it's overrated. That's why we put it at A minus.
I like it a lot.
Arc Animals is really annoying because you're getting constant draw or money or reputation. your opponents are kind of deciding what you get, but you will win something, which is nice. X token association, always nice to get those early X tokens so that you can do your other actions when you really need to, or ideally you stockpile those X tokens to
Cheaper donations.
emulate publications, which is totally balanced and not unfair at all, by the way. Cheat animals. Yeah, we talked about the fur seal. We talked about the evil monkeys. Is there anything else we got? Oh, yes, my emu.
Early emu, yeah.
Totally.
It could be like an argument that you could go the whole game without upgrading animals as well. You can still play your eagles and elephants.
Yeah, but remember, the limiting factor is that you can only play one, so you just got to be careful, and you still got to get it to power 5.
Yes.
But if you only... It might not be as useful with an eagle, where you probably want to play another animal with it, but with something like an elephant, it's got uses. If you can even squeeze out, I don't know, a zebra or lion, one of those animals that have 3 tags for some reason, maybe you can get the snowy owl out a little faster.
Oh, I'm just realizing you can play a lion with 0 predators.
Yes, if you are on Research Institute, that was a large,
Yeah.
and have this animals augment. But then why did you play a lion with 0 predators?
That's pretty sick, though.
It's funny. And then Snap sponsors, it's got some silly best case scenarios.
Yep.
That side entrance is now mine, and I can play it right now. And then we have the cheat codes.
I think this build, looking at all these cards, I think this build is it's still really good, but yeah, maybe not even on the same level as these two.
It does. I will say that build does alleviate a lot of issues with trying to fit your aviary or 5-hex, because normally you just assume that you need to reserve that spot, but with this it opens up a lot more opportunities. The limiting factor being that you can only break one water or rock tile at a time, but that's still a lot more flexibility added. You can also make some new pathways, and then we have the 2 others that either make others not get to play the game, or you just play the game too fast.
I think these 2 are very self-explanatory. So you said now that you don't play with any of these?
I don't play with any of these because I have too much trauma from the top ones.
It does seem very, like, swingy depending on which, like, if you can draft a good one, because you're not going to see them all either, right?
Yeah, if you're not going to see those S tiers starting from the second round of drafting, probably not, unless all 3 were in one hand.
You know what I'm picturing is queuing on BGA, getting a matchup on Rescue Station, and having my opponent have like digging cards or something. That is going to be my worst nightmare. All right, thank you for joining me, Andrew. Hopefully this was helpful for everyone, and thanks for watching.
Bye.